So, und damit heiße ich euch wieder willkommen zurück zu Let's Play Metal-Gear-Solid Vorgänger. Ja, im letzten Part sind wir in die Kraterbasis eingedrungen, haben dann auch die Barrikade zerstört davor, damit wir überhaupt dahin kommen. Haben auch einen Panzer bekämpft, ebenfalls. Und ja, als wir in die Panzerbasis, Kraterbasis eingedrungen sind, haben wir einen Professor gefunden, als auch einen anderen Typen, welcher wohl eine Waffe namens Peace Walker hat, um Abschreckung zu schaffen. Und er möchte damit auch erzielen, selbst eine Atomwaffe auch zu starten. Und ja, das vorhat, wissen wir noch nicht ganz genau, aber anscheinend ist Peace Walker die Waffe dafür. Und das soll zur Abschreckung dienen, um mal sehen, ob wir das aufhalten können oder nicht. Falls nicht, dann müssen wir gucken, was diese Abschreckung wirklich macht. Ja, aber als wir dann in die Kraterbasis nun eingedrungen sind, sind wir nun dem Pupa gegenübergetreten, eine Art Metal Gear kann man sagen, wobei Metal Gear das falsche Wort ist, denn das Ding ähnelt eher mehr den Shacklehord aus Metal Gear Solid 3, wenn ihr euch erinnert. Falls ihr den letzten Part nicht geschaut habt, dann macht das, ansonsten werdet ihr jetzt gleich sehen, was ich damit meine.
Careful, Snake. I've never seen anything like that, and I've got no idea how to bring it down. Maybe the scientist knows. However you do it, take that thing out.
Ja, werden wir auch machen. Da werden wir auch die Ausrüstung wieder wechseln zu den Kampfanzug. Genau. Das sind jetzt unsere Waffen, die wir dieses Mal verwenden. Und Briefing-Dateien. Haben wir hier irgendwas? Ja, haben wir. Oh, entschuldigt. Ach ja, auch noch eine Sache. Die Pupa ist eine unbemannte Waffe. Also eine KI-Waffe, eine was-weiß-ich-Waffe. Je nachdem, wie ihr es nennen wollt. Also eine Waffe, die kein Menschen braucht, um zu funktionieren. Aber egal, jetzt hören wir uns mal die Codex an.
Pass. What was the government thinking, building a power plant at the top of a mountain? With no river to replenish the water, the lake would dry up pretty quick.
If it were an ordinary power plant, but the plan called for a pumped storage power plant.
Pumped storage power plant? Kaz mentioned that too. What is that?
It is a facility that generates electricity by pumping water up to the lake, then letting it run back down.
Huh. Seems Sisyphean to me.
If they turned the water into electricity as soon as they had pumped it up, sure. But a pumped storage plant acts as a kind of battery.
A battery?
For instance, they could pump at night when there is surplus electricity and store it for later use. If they need extra power during the day, they can generate it using water pumped up during the night.
I get it. It's a little more difficult to adjust output with thermal or nuclear plants.
The thing is, Costa Rica won't have enough electricity to meet its needs. Right now, there is no surplus.
Maybe that's what put the brakes on the project. Must have played right into the CIA's hands.
Watch out! It's El Galapago. It reduces its body weight by blasting air underneath it. That makes it a lot faster than any tank. It also has a tight turning radius.
Any weak points?
Taking out its boosters could reduce its acceleration. You could also try destroying its machine guns.
I'll give it a shot.
We've lost many compas to that thing. Send it to the scrapyard.
Hey, da gab es wohl nicht mehr viel zu sagen. Ausgerüstet haben wir? Ja. Okay, dann auf geht's. Kann ich euch die nächsten Waffen zeigen, die RPG-7 und das andere Sturmgewehr M6. Ich habe keine Ahnung, was ich habe mir die Zahl jetzt nicht gemerkt. Und die Pistole, die wir noch nicht verwendet haben, das auch. Und das Ding hat eine Railgun. Das auch. Ja. Kann nur lustig sein, ne? Oh Gott. Ja. Und das Ding ist, wie man sieht, sehr schnell. Aber ich kann es treffen.
That's an AI weapon. The Pupa. It's fast, so be careful.
Ich muss auch ein bisschen pre-feiern, damit ich überhaupt den treffe. So, die... So. Ja, das ist ja mein Plan, mein Lieber. Ich will aber auch die anderen Teile zerstören, damit das Ding mich... Oh Gott. Ja, das hat ja super geklappt. Damit das Ding mich nicht oft angreift. Okay, so greift das Ding also an. Alles klar. Punch Attack, was? Oh, ich habe keine... Dann muss das Ding dran. Hat aber auch nicht so viel Munition wie die M16. Wenn dann 30 Schuss höchstens pro Magazin. Weil die M16 hatte mehr drin. Man kann da... Ich glaube, man kann sogar zwischen den Ketten da durchgehen. Das Ding nervt gerade mich ordentlich, ne? Oh, ups, das Ablegen. Nicht verwenden. Ja, das ist auch mein Plan. Weil das ist ja nicht so cool, wenn er seine Railgun auflädt und ich dadurch den Damage kassiere. Aber ich glaube, jetzt kann er mich eh nicht mehr treffen. Ja. Und ihr seht übrigens, wenn ich dem Ding Schaden mache, da kommen Buchstaben. Das werde ich euch gleich zeigen, weil ich habe ja im letzten Part, glaube ich, gesagt, dass es was mit Metal-Gear-Sieg zu tun hat. So, jetzt geht's da rein. Warum auch immer wir da rein müssen. So, jetzt passiert einfach nur ein kleines Minispiel. Nämlich die ganzen Memory Boards rausziehen. Ja. Und das ist wichtig für den Metal Gear Sieg. Ich werde euch gleich zeigen, warum. Ja, hier gibt es nicht so viele leider. Man hat immer eine Minute Zeit, also man hat schon ein bisschen Zeit, um einiges mitzunehmen. Ich kann euch aber sagen, dass die ganze Zeit nicht reichen wird, um alles mitzunehmen. Von daher, wenn euch doch irgendwas fehlt, wovon ihr sehr wenig habt, dann würde ich euch empfehlen, da euch zu fokussieren. Ja, und wo jetzt dieser AI-Pod jetzt hinfliegt, keine Ahnung. Das würde ich auch gerne wissen wollen.
That was an unmanned weapon. A prototype. I made it myself.
Who are you?
I work here. Well, used to anyway. Name's Huey. And who might you be? You don't look like one of those mercenaries.
Me. I'm an entomologist.
A fighting entomologist?
Yeah, I specialize in butterflies. I'm here to catch Ulysses.
Ulysses? Huh. I didn't think they lived in Costa Rica. Morphos, maybe?
That's it. Need to get some before the Washington Treaty goes into effect.
Says here Morphos aren't covered under the treaty.
Must have slipped my mind.
You sure you're feeling all right?
Anyway, long story short, the butterfly got away. So how about it, Doc? Did you make that big butterfly too?
Yes. And no.
What was that thing? What are they doing here?
Huh. Something tells me you're no ordinary entomologist. The nukes were loaded on that machine. The project's entering its final phase.
Project?
That's right. The thermonuclear warheads they brought in, the bases scattered throughout Costa Rica, the mercenaries, the AI weapons, the research we were conducting here. It's all for this. We used this facility to develop unmanned weapons.
Unmanned?
Robots. The one you just fought was a Pupa. There's also a flying type called Chrysalis and a treaded type, the Cocoon. Motor control, target detection, tracking, attack, capture, and transport functions are all controlled by an electronic brain. There's no need for a human pilot. They can only follow simple commands, though.
Why build them here?
For the CIA. They invited me here a year ago.
That's who that guy was.
CIA's station chief for Central America. Goes by the name of Hot Coldman. Apparently he was some sort of hero back at the height of the Cold War. He's the one running the show. We called it the Peace Walker Project.
Peace Walker.
They're going to deploy a new type of nuclear weapon along the Caribbean coast of Latin America. A mobile, unmanned nuclear platform.
Unmanned nuclear platform?
A fail-deadly system that can automatically move into position and launch a retaliatory nuclear strike. It can move on its own, and stealth shields it from radar and satellite detection, drastically reducing the risk of it being destroyed in a preemptive strike.
And this is the new deterrent?
Supposed to be. The problem is the locomotion system. There's no dry season in the Caribbean. It rains all year round. The terrain is full of tropical rainforest. A lot of the time you can't even build a proper road. So I went back to where it all started.
What's that?
Legs. Walking power. A mobile launcher carrying a thermonuclear warhead even more powerful than the Soviet RDS-220s. That's Peace Walker.
Chico's Basilisco.
We did the assembly and field testing here.
A walking nuke.
I sort of borrowed the original idea from behind the Iron Curtain.
The missing link between infantry and artillery. Metal Gear.
Metal Gear. But they'd actually need to deploy dozens of them. Coldman needs funding for that. And to get it, he's planning a test, which will also serve as a demonstration for the folks back at Langley.
Wait, he's launching a nuke to prove that his perfect deterrent works?
In his words, to prove that if someone attacks us, we will strike back. Put simply, nuclear deterrence is the idea of using nukes to keep nukes in check. If one side launches nuclear weapons, the other is sure to launch theirs in retaliation, which makes launching an act of suicide. In the end, neither side can use its nukes. It's thanks to this doctrine that the world's two superpowers have avoided all-out confrontation. Nuclear deterrence has brought us peace. At the very least, it's prevented another world war from breaking out. But the theory of nuclear deterrence exists only on paper. In reality, there's no guarantee that either side would follow through with retaliation. There's the chance that a preemptive strike could destroy all the missile bases, render them unable to retaliate. But the biggest flaw in the theory is that the decision to retaliate has to be made by human beings. Let me give you a real-world example. Let's say country X launches first against country Y. If the people in charge of Country Y are like you and me, they're not going to be able to retaliate, knowing that they're effectively ending all human life.
So then the weak link in nuclear deterrence theory is the uncertainty of retaliation.
Bingo. And that creates a loophole Country X can exploit to launch the first strike. Which is why we designed the system to be unmanned. With Peace Walker, retaliation is certain. It chooses the appropriate target and launches a retaliatory nuclear strike every time, without needing human input to make the call. Launching a nuclear strike against Peace Walker is tantamount to pushing the launch button against yourself. It closes the loophole in nuclear deterrence theory, rendering our friends in Country X completely unable to launch. What Coldman is saying is that to achieve this goal, we need to demonstrate that retaliation will be carried out by a machine. He will launch his nuke. And then his version of deterrence will be complete.
And you believe him?
I believe in peace through nuclear deterrence.
Why?
My father worked on the Manhattan Project. He put his whole life into that research. And all it created was this illusion of peace called deterrence. And then I was born, unable to walk. I had no choice but to face up to the nukes. But if they do end up launching, it'll all have been for nothing. They've got to be stopped.
Where'd they take the warheads?
To a base near the border. The final test is 5 days from now.
Where's the base?
You're gonna stop them? It's kind of a hike. And besides, there's a surefire way to halt the project. You see, Peace Walker isn't quite finished yet.
What do you mean?
It's missing one last critical structural component. The AI. Its brain. The reptile pod, the electronic brain I was working on, can only follow commands like, go there, attack that. I guess you could compare it to the human cerebellum. But for nuclear deterrence to work, it must function in place of a human decision maker. It needs something to analyze the huge volumes of data coming in and select an appropriate target for retaliation. Hence, it needs the high-level decision-making ability of a cerebrum.
A mechanical cerebrum.
The hardware configuration is modeled on the human brain, similar to the pod I worked on, but its role is completely different.
Where's it being made?
A research lab to the north. An AI expert named Dr. Strangelove is developing it. Very hush-hush.
Dr. Strangelove?
Strangelove was recruited from the States, too. In the field of AI, there's no one better, that's for sure. But man, what a basket case. She hates everybody. Go to the lab and destroy Peace Walker's cerebrum. I'm pretty sure they haven't finished the final calibrations yet. I'll lend you my ID card. It'll get you through security at the lab. Oh, and one more thing.
What's this? A letter of recommendation?
Yeah, it's from me to Dr. Strangelove. Don't read it, okay?
So what will you do now?
I'm done with science. At this rate, I'm probably already halfway to hell anyway.
Not so fast. Why not join us? Our place is outer heaven. You'd fit right in.
Outer heaven?
Yeah.
I'm probably better suited to something like that than this paradise.
Good. You get a free balloon trip for signing up. Enjoy it. You'll feel like a butterfly.
You're an agent, right? Who do you work for?
Me? I was a Cold War tool, same as you. Now I'm not so useful anymore, so they cut me loose. I don't answer to anyone. Call me Snake.
Snake? That name seems familiar somehow.
That's probably just deja vu.
You see that there? Beyond the cloud forest? See those ruins?
Yeah.
That's where you'll find Dr. Strangelove's lab.
Snake, the doctor's safe here with us.
Huey, how are you feeling?
Never better. This is quite the pad you've got here, boss. I'm impressed.
Call me Snake.
Whatever you say. Like it or not, everyone here calls you boss. By the way, if you're at all interested in improving your tech, by all means assign me to the R&D section. I'm pretty sure I'll be of some use. Once we have the necessary materials and blueprints, we can start work on that bipedal mech.
I appreciate that, but are you sure you're okay with having your work used for war?
I'll be using it to keep past mistakes in check. If I can help thwart the Peace Walker project, I'm happy to do it.
Deterrence theory, Huey style, huh?
Anyway, if you need any intel on the enemy's weapons or electronic brains, contact me. I've been given my own frequency.
Sounds good to me, Doc. I'll do that.
Good. Whatever the means, you must put a stop to their plans.
Ja. Das werde ich euch mal jetzt zeigen. Da müssen wir aber zum Mother Base wieder zurück. Ja, Peace Walker. Eine Waffe, die basically zurückschlagen kann, wenn eine Seite Nuklearwaffen verwendet. Und die es auch machen wird. Eigentlich auch sehr verständlich. Weil Menschen würden das nicht machen, weil die dann Angst hätten halt, ne, die ganze Erde zu zerstören. Von daher verstehe ich verstehe den Sinn hinter der Waffe, aber es würde dann trotzdem daraus enden, dass, ne, dass dann die ganze Erde zerstört wird. Halt aufgrund von dem Ding. Mehr oder weniger. Ja, Metal Gear Sieg. Denn die Bossgegner, beziehungsweise die Hauptbossgegner, geben euch verschiedene Teile, wie man hier sieht, für Metal Gear Sieg. Die haben zwar alle keine Unterschiede, aber die sind einfach dafür da, um Metal Gear Sieg nicht zu zerstören, also dass es immer ganz bleibt. Und es kann sogar mehr Teile haben, bei den optionalen Teilen. Zusätzliche Panzerungen, Radarkuppeln und Jetpacks. Haben wir aber leider alles nicht. Wir können auch das Ding anders färben, was auch sehr cool ist. Leider kann man das halt nicht selber verwenden. Aber man kann halt das ganze Ding hier, ne, mehr oder weniger halt ein bisschen customizen. Ist auch ziemlich cool gemacht, muss ich sagen. Einfach so einen eigenen Metal Gear zu haben irgendwie. Aber es ist halt natürlich nicht der beste Metal Gear. Den kann man wesentlich noch verbessern. Aber ja. Gab es hier noch irgendwas? Ja, gut, das mache ich halt später. Nee, aber wirklich, den Metal Gear kann man halt komplett aufleveln und dann, ja, ist er richtig stark.
Snake, Peace Walker is the heart of the enemy's project. To prevent its completion, you'll need to either shut down or destroy the artificial intelligence that functions as its brain. According to Huey, that AI is now undergoing final calibrations in Strangelove's lab. It's inside a tropical cloud forest. Slip in and terminate that AI before they ship it out.
Genau. Begeben Sie sich zum Nebelwald, begeben Sie sich nach Norden, nach Zentral Heredia, wo Dr. Strangeloves Labor in Maya-Ruinen versteckt liegt. Ja, das werden wir auch machen, aber natürlich, ja, nicht Charakter wechseln. Wir bleiben ja bei Snake.
Stealth.
Das brauchen wir wieder. Stealth. Ja, wie viel hast du zu sagen? Ach du Scheiße. Ja, und Huey, ach, boy. Das kann ja lustig werden. Oh, der Part wird heute ein bisschen länger, glaube ich. Ich glaube, wir werden vielleicht sogar an die Stunde kommen. Mal sehen. Aber erstmal Cars.
We've also confirmed that some of the enemies specialize in ambushes. Amanda's crew calls them scouts. They'll blend themselves in with the terrain and the vegetation. Then, when they see you, they'll swoop in. They fight pretty much like commandos, and will use clearing techniques to flush you out. In addition to wielding normal weapons, the scouts also carry wires.
Sounds like these guys know their CQC.
Could be. We've been getting reports of CQC attacks being blocked by wires. Stay alert.
Are there any large-scale ruins in Costa Rica, Paz?
There is a place east of Cartago called Guajabu. They have ruins there, but they're not especially big.
Not the place I'm thinking of. Any others?
Well, if you go a little way across the border into Nicaragua, there's a place called La Fortaleza de la Inmaculada Concepción. That is the only famous one.
Then what were those ruins I saw from up on Irasu?
There are a lot of things we still do not know about Costa Rica's ancient civilizations. There are giant stone spheres throughout the country. What they were used for is still a mystery. The cloud forests cover the central mountainous region of the country. They are perpetually shrouded in fog. You get wet just standing there. It is as if the entire forest is inside a cloud.
Must make for poor visibility.
It does, but beauty too. It is like being lost in some mystical green labyrinth.
I'd rather not get lost, if that's okay.
The forests are also home to lots of rare animals, especially bright-colored frogs. They like the humidity.
You know that butterfly painted on Peace Walker? Any idea what that is?
It is a morpho, a Palladius morpho, if I'm not mistaken.
Pallades morpho.
Uh-huh. It is the most common type of morpho in Costa Rica.
Huh.
It has these gorgeous metallic blue wings that shimmer in the light. You can see them even from a distance.
You mean they reflect light?
Correct. It is called structural color. Morpho scales have tiny bumps on them that interfere with the light and make them look blue. The space between the bumps corresponds to the wavelength of the blue light.
Let me see if I get this. So if you could change the spacing, you'd end up seeing a different color.
That is the principle. I heard somewhere it is being researched as a way to color cloth without dye.
Think of the camouflage you could make with that.
Is that all you can think of?
Hey, it's important. What I don't get is why they'd put a butterfly on Peace Walker.
Maybe because it looks pretty.
I hope that's all it is.
This area is a tropical cloud forest, continually covered in a thick mist. It is quite a mystical place.
Selva de la Leche. Forest of milk. I can barely see in front of me.
There you go again. The forest is basically sitting in a cloud, so of course it's going to be hard to see. But you know, the cloud forest is the only place many exotic creatures can live.
Well, if they're not edible, I'm not interested.
Snake, I'll have you know people travel from all around the world to witness Costa Rica's unique fauna. Snake, watch out for the frogs.
Why? They bite? Relax. No frog's ever eaten a snake. Although, I've feasted on a few frog's legs myself.
But they are dangerous. They are poisonous.
Poisonous?
Poison dart frogs live up to their name, I assure you. Their poison is so strong, the Indígena use them to make poison-tipped arrows. Some secrete poison through their skin. Even touching them can be dangerous. So don't go petting them or anything.
So I can't eat one?
I am warning you.
From here on in, you'll be in a cloud forest. The ground is covered in vegetation. You'll have plenty of hiding places, but so will the enemy.
I'll keep an eye out for scouts.
Trying to force your way through would be suicide. Know the enemy's location before making any moves. Too bad you don't have some sort of radar.
I could try night vision.
Once you know where an enemy is, decide how you want to handle him. You could get into his blind spots.
Or drop him from a distance before he even has a clue someone's around. An eye for an eye, right? Chico, you know much about cloud forests?
Not that much. All I know is there's a world of difference between a rainy rainforest and a foggy cloud forest. But they have some things in common. But like, for instance, you gotta watch out for poison dart frogs. Both rain and cloud forests have high humidity, so they're perfect environments for frogs and other amphibians. I mean, it's not like just touching a strawberry poison dart frog or a dying dart frog is going to kill you, but don't eat them, no matter how hungry you get.
I can get all the rations I need from Mother Base. No jungle food for me this time.
Seriously? You're not disappointed you don't get to eat wild animals?
What do you think I am?
Just kidding. In Colombia, though, there's a frog, the golden dart frog, that's lethal to the touch.
How do you know all this?
Come on. Don't you think poisonous animals are cool?
Not if you get poisoned by one.
Well, obviously. One more thing. When you get to the forest, be on the lookout for Bigfoot.
I think I'll be okay there.
Bigfoot is an ape-man that lives in the Rocky Mountains. In the local Indian language, he's known as Sasquatch. And get this, he's over 3 vara. Can you believe that?
So he's kinda like a gorilla?
Completely different. Even the biggest gorillas only get to about 2 vara, and they walk on their knuckles. Bigfoot's big, and he walks on 2 feet, like people.
So he's more man than ape?
Probably. His ancestors must have split off from humans at some point. Like before they started using tools and stuff.
Yeah, but aren't the Rockies kind of far away from here?
Not that far. According to Darwin, humans came all the way over here from Africa. Plus, there have been sightings in Venezuela of an ape-man called Mono Grande. Costa Rica has tons of plant and animal species. So I'd expect there to be at least one kind of ape-man.
At least. Gotta admit, I've never heard of Mono Grande.
Yeah, he's not as famous as Bigfoot. He's similar, but he lives in Venezuela. He's not that big, less than 2 vara, but he's way more ferocious than Bigfoot. I wonder just how mean he is. Like when he catches his prey, does he punch it to death?
That's the law of the wild. You catch your prey, you kill it, and you eat it.
Yeah, but punching is way more ferocious than biting.
Well, maybe it seems that way because that's what humans do. You really love UMAs, don't you, Chico?
Do you know what I think? I think UMAs should be dangerous. Otherwise, where's the fun in hunting them?
Doc, I'm starting to sense your feelings about nukes are a little different from your colleagues.
How do you mean?
Your little chat with Coldman back there.
I told you my father worked on the Manhattan Project, right? You're familiar with it?
The basics, yeah. It was the project that kicked off the nuclear age.
That's right. Some of the finest minds of the 20th century, including multiple Nobel Prize winners, worked on it. They spent over $2 billion, and that's in 1940s money. It culminated in the successful nuclear test at Alamogordo on July 16th, 1945.
And the first use in combat a few weeks later. Doc?
I can't walk.
What?
My spine isn't shaped like everybody else's. I can't move my lower body, so I've never taken a single step, not since I was born.
What's that got to do with your dad being in the Manhattan Project?
As a result of his research, my father was exposed to high doses of radiation. It can't be a coincidence that my chromosomes are messed up. That's why I didn't want for these nukes to be another sword of Damocles. I wanted to give them a real purpose, to be a deterrent against war.
Doc.
And Coldman, we have to stop him, whatever it takes. August 6th, 1945, Hiroshima. August 9, Nagasaki.
The atom bomb attacks on Japan.
My father was married to his work. I don't have a single memory of going places or doing stuff with him on weekends. But even as a kid, I knew on some level that it was for his family. I respected him. My mother used to tell me all the time, "Your father is a brilliant scientist. He saved countless American boys from death. You should be proud of him."
Yeah. You could say the war ended because of those bombs.
When I was in the 5th grade, a Japanese student transferred to our class. She showed me photos of Hiroshima after the bomb. I couldn't believe my eyes. A city of over 350,000 people reduced to a scorch mark on the ground by a single atomic bomb. Houses blown off their foundations, burned to ashes. The only things left standing were the skeletons of steel-framed buildings. And it wasn't just the buildings. Blackened corpses on the side of the road. Survivors covered head to toe in severe burns. Within a few months, over 70,000 had died in Nagasaki, twice that in Hiroshima. For years after that, I couldn't talk to my father. Couldn't even stand to look at his face.
I know how you feel, Doc, but your father's your father.
If he hadn't worked on that project, my body wouldn't be like this. I could be researching something else. I could have lived a normal life. It wasn't so long ago the world stood on the brink of nuclear war.
Just over on the other side of the Caribbean.
I was 17 at the time. I'd skipped a few grades and was a sophomore at MIT. I remember feeling kind of apathetic about the news that came in every day. It seemed clear to me that as long as they had a grasp of the concept of nuclear deterrence, there was nothing to fear.
Either that, or they were fanning that fear on purpose.
As a way to secure a bigger defense budget? Huh, I can see that. But if that was their plan, it kind of backfired.
Because it ushered in the era of détente between East and West.
Coldman's really gonna do it this time. Once the nuclear genie is out of the bottle, the yoke of deterrence is going to be meaningless. People will die. Cities will burn. We have to stop him now before it's too late to turn back.
So you've been doing nuclear research your whole life?
No, not really. At first, I wanted to be an aerospace engineer. For me, the Sputnik launch was a good shock, not a bad one. I thought the age when science was used for war was over, and that a glorious age of space exploration was dawning. The year I skipped ahead and got into MIT, Gagarin went into orbit, which made me more excited than ever. Of course, even back then, I knew the space race was just another facet of the Cold War.
Moscow had a leg up on us, and we were desperate to catch up.
I know. But for me, it was a happy time. I joined NASA, got to do the kind of research I loved. Our nation's prestige hinged on our work. They gave us whatever resources we asked for. I knew you could turn a rocket into an ICBM by fitting it with a nuclear warhead, but that didn't bother me so much. It didn't last long, though. The space and nuclear arms races took up enormous sums of money. America beat Russia to the moon, but that's where it ended.
Then came détente.
Exactly. NASA's budget was slashed as a result. My father being a nuclear expert and all, they put me to work on a more obvious deterrent: missiles. At NASA, I'd been researching a locomotion system for lunar exploration. Tires aren't suited to driving around on the moon, you know. And that's how I caught Coldman's eye. The aim of the Peace Walker project is to achieve robust nuclear deterrence across Central America by deploying a new nuclear weapon system along the Caribbean coast. Peace Walker is also the name of the system itself.
A nuclear weapon named Peace. I can just see the look on Kaz's face. So why exactly does this new system need legs in the first place?
Because it's a walker, an unmanned weapon moving under its own power and capable of launching a deterrent strike from anywhere. That's the whole idea behind Peace Walker. The reason Peace Walker is a mobile nuclear weapon system is to maximize its potential as a nuclear deterrent.
How so?
If need be, Peace Walker can stay constantly on the move so that the adversary can't pinpoint its position. That allows it to avoid preemptive enemy strikes.
So you're saying it keeps the retaliation card in play?
Coldman likes to brag about it in this way.
Like a land-based version of an SSBN.
And there's another reason for them to be mobile. Peace Walker also has a self-destruct function.
Why would Peace Walker need a self-destruct function?
You saw it, didn't you, Snake? That sphere on Peace Walker's head?
Yeah?
That's a hydrogen bomb.
What? You're telling me that thing's a thermonuclear device? Do they have any idea what kind of destruction that thing would cause?
I know, it's crazy. I mean, even overkill has its limits. If it's strategic value they want, they could have gone with something smaller. It's like they want a weapon on par with Russia's Tsar Bomba.
This arms race is running way out of control.
It's an evolutionary dead end. A saber-toothed tiger. You can't load a warhead that big on a missile, of course. And no strategic bomber could carry it. That's where Peace Walker comes in.
So, it waltzes into enemy territory carrying a hydrogen bomb and blows itself up. Christ.
The biggest nuclear warhead ever actually detonated was the Soviet RDS-220, nicknamed Tsar Bomba. It had an estimated yield of 57 megatons, 10 times as much power as all the explosives used throughout World War II. The test took place on October 30, 1961, above Novaya Zemlya. The explosion is believed to have created a fireball over 2 miles in diameter. Can you believe that? Like a miniature sun. The explosion was seen as far off as Finland, 600 miles away, and some people even reported windows shattering. The shock wave traveled 3 times around the Earth.
3 times?
Peace Walker is armed with a massive hydrogen bomb, even more destructive than Tsar Bomba. It can sneak into enemy territory, lie low, and in the event of an enemy nuclear strike, detonate itself in retaliation. And the locomotion system that lets it do that? My research. Snake, those legs were supposed to make my dream come true. Now they're about to jump the fence of nuclear deterrence. You have to stop them. I'll apply all my energy into developing weapons and equipment to help you do it.
Sounds like a deal. What made you put an AI into Peace Walker?
Well, for one thing, because it can't be manned. Peace Walker's designed to enter enemy territory and blow itself up, if necessary. You can't put a person inside a weapon that could blow at any time, can you? So we equipped it with an AI instead.
That's strangely humane of you.
And besides, Peace Walker was designed as a bipedal weapon system. You can't imagine how hard it shakes when it walks. It'd turn a man into mush. Plus, when launching a nuclear missile, it has to perform ballistic calculations in real time. See? Because it's always moving.
Hold on. If that's all it does, then a high-performance computer ought to do the job. It doesn't need intelligence.
That's a very good point, Snake. Which brings me to the real reason. Peace Walker needs AI to make decisions regarding nuclear retaliation. It's what ensures perfectly mutual assured destruction.
I've heard all this before. You want a war between machines?
We'd never actually launched the first nuke, of course. It's strictly a counterattack system. Only a politician could make such an illogical decision as starting a nuclear war. Conversely, if an adversary launches a nuke at us, the AI will not fail to retaliate. Therefore, the adversary can't launch. The AI guarantees it.
Even so, launching nukes without authorization?
Boomer captains have the authority to launch if land communications are cut off. It's the same principle.
Not even the captain of a boomer can make that decision alone. The way I heard it, that's the only situation where insubordination is allowed.
Only because humans are imperfect. That's Coldman's line of thinking.
You're saying that machines don't make mistakes? That's a myth. Worse than that, it's blind faith.
We wouldn't put our fate, into the hands of any ordinary machine. That's what the AI is for. The decision to launch a retaliatory strike requires high-level judgment. You have to take into account not only the state of the war, but the entire world. And sometimes, you need to make a guess based on incomplete information.
Huh. You think an AI can do all that?
Yeah. At least Dr. Strangelove does. Peace Walker is fitted with several close-range weapons. We'd also planned for it to be able to enter enemy territory and self-detonate.
Wonderful. What exactly are we dealing with here?
Well, the flamethrowers for one thing. One in the front and one in the rear. Then there are the S-mines. They're like cluster bombs. It scatters them from its leg hatches. If you see those open, you better clear out quickly. And finally, the rockets. These can travel quite a distance, so stay sharp. On the other hand, it can't fire them from too close. But then again, there are those flamethrowers. It can also use its legs as weapons against any infantry on the ground.
Ouch.
But remember, Peace Walker technically isn't complete. With just the reptile pod, it can only perform relatively simple maneuvers. They've got certain quirks, too. What's more, look carefully and you should be able to predict which attack is coming next.
Okay, but why does Peace Walker need to walk on two legs? I'd think treads would be good enough.
You'd be wrong. As you know, the terrain in Central America is rugged and complex, especially along the Caribbean coast of Costa Rica. You've got jungles, swamps, mountains, and the only way to get across all that terrain, no matter how rugged, is on legs.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be tough to cross a swamp, even on legs?
It wasn't easy, that's for sure. The reason we picked Costa Rica as a proving ground is because we can test it on every type of terrain.
This Peace Walker project the CIA's talking about. You believed in it, huh?
Yeah, I believed. Actually, maybe I just wanted to believe.
What do you mean?
Here's how Coldman explained it. Peace Walker's a weapon for peace. One to ensure true nuclear deterrence. It'd be the anchor to bring stability to Central America. He told me, the nuclear weapon system you've built will never be used. It will forever stand vigil as an icon of peace. And to achieve that, he needed my bipedal locomotion technology. To be honest, I was flattered.
Flattered?
Wouldn't you be? My colleagues in the scientific community have never taken me seriously. They told me bipedal locomotion was a pipe dream, that it'd never amount to anything. It was the first time anybody recognized my work. How could I not be happy? And besides, it was my chance to surpass my father. To create nukes for peace. Or so I thought anyway.
But Coldman's really going through with it.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense, really. No one would give the project any notice unless they could prove that an unmanned system is capable of launching a nuke.
Why is Coldman going to launch a nuke? If all he wants to do is prove the AI retaliation system works, he doesn't need to put a live warhead on it.
I agree. He could demonstrate the system by launching the missile alone, without a warhead. I asked him the same thing at first. He said there was no point in using a dummy missile. That it'd take an actual nuclear launch to deter potential enemies. Launching the real deal gives him a leg up in negotiations with Langley. That's what he's really after. I based the bipedal locomotion technology used in Peace Walker on Soviet research. Actually, I'll be honest with you. I stole most of the basic ideas behind it.
Soviet? Bipedal? You mean Granin?
You know him?
Yeah. I met him at his lab in Russia. He helped me out a little bit.
You met him? What were you...
He was head of the Granin Design Bureau, creator of countless Soviet weapons.
I'd hit a wall in my research at the time. Granin's ideas solved nearly all my problems.
There's nothing unusual about using somebody else's work to further your own research, is there?
As long as you cite it, yeah. But I wasn't in a position to do that. His research was classified at the highest level. Soviet research, no less.
So, you used it without telling anybody?
I wanted to show up my colleagues for once. The ones who never took me seriously. But you reap what you sow. Coldman seized on that vulnerability. Told me if I quit the project, he'd expose my larceny.
He had you by the balls, Doc. How'd you get your hands on Granin's research?
That was also Coldman. He used his agency contacts to get a hold of it.
Giving you stolen information, then using it to blackmail you. Damn.
I knew it was Gronin's work the minute I saw it. See, I'd been corresponding with him for a while.
Corresponding?
Letters. Between scientists doing the same kind of research. He always complained that nobody understood his ideas on bipedal locomotion.
Ah, so you're the American friend he was talking about.
Obviously, he didn't write a word about the technology in his letters, except for one time. If by chance anything should happen to me, I entrust my research to you. Better that than handing it over to these ignorant so-called scientists.
Sounds like him, all right.
Then one day, his papers actually came. It wasn't hard for me to imagine what had happened to him. I felt it was my duty to carry on his work after him. And also...
What?
I thought maybe combining his technology with mine could be a way to bring East and West together, like the docking of Apollo and Soyuz.
It'll never make the history books, and it's still not a reason to plagiarize.
You're right. You're absolutely right. I never had the courage to tell the truth, that's all. I always looked for excuses to cover it up.
Until now.
Huh?
You told me everything. You're no longer a coward.
Metal Gear.
Huh? What about it?
You mumbled that when I first explained about Peace Walker. I'm curious what it meant.
Exactly what it says. Metal Gear. Gronin coined the term.
Gronin did?
He thought of his technology as the metal gear that meshes infantry with artillery.
I like the sound of that. Metal Gear. It's got a nice ring to it. Better than an outright lie like Peace Walker, anyway.
Those papers the CIA gave you, was there any data on the Shagohod in there?
Shagohod?
A nuclear tank that launches IRBMs. It competed against Gronin's system for approval.
Oh, the thing with the rockets. Designed by a guy named Sokolov, right?
What's so funny?
No, I was just remembering some of the commentary Gronin added to the Shagohod papers. You should have seen the way he badmouthed it. It was too conservative, too ugly.
I can imagine.
He was so angry when he wrote that, he smeared up the ink. And you know how shoddy the paper is over there to begin with.
I'll bet. That's Gronin, all right.
Imagine accelerating the launcher itself to 300 miles an hour to extend the range of an IRBM. As stupid as it sounds, it's a hell of a concept. Who but the Soviets would think of using a tank as the first stage of a rocket? I actually took a cue from the Shagohod when I developed the Pupa.
That hovercraft thing? You stole that one, too?
Give me a little credit. I only borrowed the concept. The technology is original. As it turned out, hover technology wasn't enough to handle all the terrain in Central America. It relied too much on brute force.
But the Shagohod was a major threat. That thing could corner like you wouldn't believe. Built pretty tough, too.
You sure know a lot about it.
It almost did me in. I couldn't forget it if I tried.
Did you in? So you were the one who took it down. Wow! You really are amazing.
I didn't do it alone.
No, seriously, thank you. We might not be here today if they'd begun mass-producing that thing. Then again, they're hard at work now miniaturizing nuclear warheads. Pretty soon they won't even need an accelerated launcher like the Shagohod.
Great. That means they're that much closer to being able to launch from anywhere in the world. Chico called Peace Walker the Basilisco.
Basilisco? Oh, right, Spanish. That's funny. I once used the codename Basilisk for the Peace Walker platform myself.
What for?
The class of lizards called basilisks can walk atop any type of terrain. In a pinch, they can even stand up on two legs and run across water. Perfect name for a system that can walk anywhere in Central America, right? Plus, there are the legends.
What legends?
The basilisks of legend were highly venomous creatures. There's a story told by the ancient Romans. A knight slew a basilisk by piercing it with his spear. The creature's poison seeped up the spear and killed both horse and rider. Remind you of anything, Snake?
Nuclear deterrence.
Bingo. Kill it, and you die along with it. Your hands are bound. I wanted Peace Walker to be like that.
You should know that people aren't that rational. Sometimes people do things that don't make sense, even when they know they're going to die. Or maybe it's because of that.
Maybe you're right. But that's exactly what I don't understand.
So this Dr. Strangelove was at NASA?
Yeah. Well, actually, Strangelove left for DARPA not long after I joined.
And then the two of you ended up back together doing research at Costa Rica.
Not exactly together. We coordinated on a few things, but the research projects themselves were separate from each other. We had it worked out so that Dr. Strangelove handled the mammal pod, Peace Walker's cerebrum, while I did the rest.
That letter, something to do with your research?
Huh? No, it's yeah, it's a report. Research findings.
Research findings? Anything in there we could use against Peace Walker?
Nothing. Nothing at all. Just don't read it, okay? Promise me you won't?
So ja, das waren dann alle Codex erstmal. Haben auch einige schöne Anspielungen gehabt, als auch Themen von Metal Gear Solid 3, der Shepard, Grennan und so weiter. Auch schöne Anspielungen, wie gesagt, bei Metal Gear Solid 3, dass Snake immer alles essen will an Tieren oder so. Das kennen wir ja sehr gut. Dass er immer fragt, ob man das essen kann, ob er es essen kann, ob es essbar ist, wie es schmeckt und was weiß ich was. Das kennen wir ja alles. Ah, guck mal, das.
Snake, how's the mule treating you?
At this pace, I should be there by tomorrow morning.
You've got to hurry. The AI could be completed any time now.
It'd be nice to have a guide.
Already on it. I've enlisted Paz to help you. She knows the jungle pretty well.
Snake, I know you are an expert in survival, but you need to stay alert. You are in an ancient jungle so foggy, you can hardly see the trees. It is home to 2,500 species of plants, including 400 types of orchids. There are also 500 species of butterflies and over 400 species of wild birds. The bedrock is solid enough that Mayan ruins have miraculously survived centuries of earthquakes.
An AI lab in a Mayan ruin. Who'd have thought, hey, Huey?
My sentiments exactly. That doesn't mean security's any less tight, though. You still have the ID card I gave you, don't you?
Got it right here.
That'll get you through the gate, no problem. After that, you're on your own. As long as the AI remains unassembled, Coldman's plan's on ice.
What about security inside the lab?
Well, it shouldn't be a problem for you. Strangelove demanded that the security presence inside the lab be kept to a minimum.
It's not all good news, Snake. Coldman knows we're here. He's raised security in the area surrounding the lab. You'll be seeing a lot of that Chrysalis UAV, and a bunch of patrol choppers too. There may be scouts in the jungle lying in ambush. As you approach the lab, be extra vigilant.
I'll be careful.
Strangelove's lab is a few miles to the north. It won't be long before the AI is complete. Don't let that happen.
Mir fällt gerade auf, wir haben was vergessen auszurüsten. Das habe ich komplett vergessen. Weil in der Mission brauchen wir ein Item, glaube ich. Und deshalb werde ich mal ganz schnell die Mission neu starten. Weil, wie gesagt, wir brauchen ein Item jetzt gerade. Das habe ich ja komplett vergessen, oder? Brauchen wir das? Eigentlich schon, eigentlich... Moment, ich überprüfe mal kurz die nächste Mission. Ah, nee, okay. Hier braucht man das Item. Gut, dann bin ich komplett bescheuert. Ich hatte gerade Angst, dass wir das Item brauchen, aber nein. Ich hatte gerade wirklich Angst gehabt. Aber nein, wir brauchen es doch nicht. Erst übernächste Mission. Alles klar. Gut. Das war jetzt mein Fehler. Ich dachte wirklich, wir brauchen das Item schon jetzt. Weil manchmal ist das Spiel gerne so drauf, dass es aus irgendeinem Grund einfach nicht sagen will, dass man das Item braucht. Okay, dann never mind. Dann ist ja alles gut. Naja, nearly impossible to see für die Leute, die den Sultan Raider vielleicht nicht haben und nicht wirklich aufpassen. Kann ich da runterspringen, ohne dass der mich sieht? So, einmal. Und so. D. C. Das heißt, den einen kann ich mitnehmen, den anderen lasse ich hier. Und da oben ist Munition, die nehme ich auch gleich mit. Zack, zack. Du kannst da liegen bleiben. Scharfes Curry. Ah, das ist die Ein-Stern-Version, ne, von den Curry, was ich jetzt habe. Habe mich jetzt gerade nämlich gewundert. Ich guck mal kurz. Ja, Futur Curry. Ja, das scharfe Curry ist die Ein-Stern-Version. Ich habe ja schon die 4-Sterne-Version. Von daher ist es eigentlich nicht so wichtig. So, ich muss da nämlich mal hoch. Hier. Munition. Täubungsschüsse. Brauche ich zwar nicht jetzt gerade, weil ich keinen abgefeuert habe, aber es ist schön, immer einen zu haben. Auf Vorrat. Und ihr seht halt, wie einfach das ist mit den Sultan Raider. Wie gesagt, das Ding bekommt ihr echt super spät im Spiel. Sogar so spät, dass ihr das erst bekommt, wenn ihr das Spiel durch habt. Aber da ich es ja schon durch habe, kann ich es wunderbar einsetzen. Ist in allen Missionen super hilfreich und viel besser als das Umgebungsradar, beziehungsweise die Umgebungsanzeige. Weil ihr dadurch halt immer die Gegner sieht und ihr ganz genau wisst, wo die immer rumhängen. Ist hier schon der Boss, den wir gleich antreffen werden, weil wir haben es ja eh schon jetzt gesehen. Oder kommt der erst nächste Mission? Nee, nicht nächste Mission, sondern nächsten Bereich. Mein Gott. Nee, ich glaube im nächsten Bereich erst. Aber dann machen wir das auch im nächsten Part, weil wir sind ja schon bei 1 Stunde und 3 Minuten. Das ist eher so eine typische Metal-Gear-Solid Part. Ja, und die bewegen sich da übrigens nicht. Also diese ganzen Scouts, diese ganzen Überfalltruppen, die bewegen sich halt nie, müsst ihr wissen. Aber ja, wie gesagt, so eine Partlänge ist eher normal für so ein typisches Metal Gear Spiel, also Metal Gear Solid Spiel, wie 3, 2 oder was weiß ich was. Ach, guck mal. Das habe ich nicht gesehen. Den habe ich jetzt gehört. Wenn er kein Geräusch gemacht hätte, hätte ich den Tatsache nicht gesehen. Ist da oben noch einer? Ah ne, den habe ich ja schon. Okay. So, mal gucken, was seid ihr? Du bist D. E. Da hinten. E. Gut, die muss ich jetzt alle nicht mitnehmen. Die kann ich aber alle ausrauben. Das nehme ich alles gerne mit. Ich wollte schon sagen, ne, wenn du dich jetzt bewegst, nur weil ich dich geschlagen habe, beziehungsweise umgerollt habe. So, und dann hier, ja, Snake. Nicht in die andere Richtung schauen, sondern bitte hier das ganze Zeug mitnehmen. Ja, das was halt ein bisschen nervig ist, aber das liegt auch einfach allgemein an der Metal Gear Solid Physik, ist halt, wenn du mal die wachen Items droppen, dann fliegen die meistens irgendwo hin und müssen erstmal so einen Bergabhang irgendwie runtersliden. Das ist leider nicht die Schuld, wie kann ich sagen, die Schuld an diesem Spiel, sondern eher die Schuld allgemein bei der Spielereihe. Weil das war ja schon in Metal Gear Solid 3 so, in 2, eigentlich überall. Das ist halt so die Sache. Von daher. Ja, und das machen wir im nächsten Part. Wird fortgesetzt. Ja. Ich glaube, im nächsten Part will ich auch sogar was mal ausprobieren. Muss ich gucken, ob ich das mache. So. Ja, nicht einmal die Waffe verwendet. Das ist eigentlich cool. Wenn man einfach mal so einen Run hat, wo man gar nichts verschwendet an Ressourcen. Weil in dem Spiel ist es halt super einfach, wie man immer sieht. So, Einsatzauswahl. Und ja, der nächste Part beginnt dann wieder einmal mit einem Bosskampf, nämlich mit dem Kampfhubschrauber, den wir da gesehen haben. Der Mi-24A. Bin ich gespannt. Oh, entschuldigt. So. Aber damit würde ich sagen, ich bedanke mich fürs Zuschauen vom heutigen etwas längeren Part. Höchstwahrscheinlich vielleicht sogar der längste Part, wer weiß, aber ich denke eher der letzte Part wird der längste Part. Na, werden wir sehen. Aber wie dem auch sei, damit würde ich, wie gesagt, einfach sagen, ich bedanke mich fürs Zuschauen vom heutigen Part. Und wie immer hoffe ich, dass ihr auch dann beim nächsten Mal wieder dabei seid bei Let's Play Metal-Gear Solid, Peace Walker. Ich wünsche euch was und tschüss.